Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down and back in for some more TV reviewing. If you watched my last video, my review for Ratchet, if you didn't, you can check it out right there. But in that video, as well as my review for The Queen's Gambit, mentioned that after October, kind of had to take the foot off the gas a little bit, get over being sick and get back to 100%. And now since I've returned, I've decided that today we're just going to talk about TV shows that I watched in that couple weeks that I kind of pulled off the gas. And while Queen's Gambit might be my favorite show of the year, and Ratchet is one of the most conflicted shows I've had, me personally, most conflicted out of any show I've watched there. This show just made me smile, and it just made me happy because it comes from two of my favorite people in Hollywood, Nick Frost, Simon Pegg. Oh, thank you, Amazon, for producing this one, because it's really quite good. So why don't you pull up a chair, man, and take a seat? We are getting ready to dive in, spoiler-free, into Amazon's Truth Seekers. And as I said, this comes to us from Mr. Nick Frost and Mr. Simon Pegg, and these are two guys in the world of comedy that I just absolutely adore. Everything they've put out, I find myself in stitches, and I find myself really enjoying their comedies because their comedies do something that a lot of other comedies wouldn't do. The way that they take their comedy into different genres typically would lead to spoof movies, you know? Like, if you had, like, Shaun of the Dead, you'd be like, oh, it's a spoof zombie movie. You know, or Hot Fuzz, it's a spoof cop movie. And the fact of the matter is that's not true. These are movies that live completely in those genres. These two guys dive into those genres and produce genre-oriented content. Their zombie movie, Shaun of the Dead, is terrifying. The zombies in there are really good, and the zombie horror is really spot on. Same with Hot Fuzz. All the stuff they do as cops works really well within that type of a movie. In any of the movies that they've done, whether they've been, you know, alien conspiracy theorists or what have you, they commit fully to the genre and then add their comedic flair to it. And it produces stuff that's laugh out loud funny, but also really true to the form or genre that they're in. And Truth Seekers is no different here, outside of the fact that it's not quite as laugh out loud funny. Typically, we have 90 minutes to 2 hours to play with. Here, we have a full season full of half-hour episodes. So you've got, like, I think 5 hours worth of content. And while the show is not laugh out loud funny all the time, there certainly are some wonderful laugh out loud moments. There's plenty of classic Simon Pegg and Nick Frost type stuff in there. But this is a really, really good supernatural ghost show. It fully commits to that genre, as they do with all of their genre-oriented comedy, puts their flair on it, certainly gives you some laughs, but really creates some terrifying moments. The whole concept behind Truth Seekers is our man, Nick Frost, Mr. Gus Roberts, works for a phone company that is, his boss, Dave, is played by Simon Pegg. Now, the one thing that is a little bit more different here is usually in their movies, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost split screen time pretty well, and it, you know, sometimes feels like it's Simon Pegg's movie and Nick Frost is the sidekick. Here, Simon Pegg is totally the sidekick. He is a super minor character. You pretty much get Pegg pop up like once, maybe twice in an episode. This bad boy is all Nick Frost's. And Frost works for this phone company, but he is also a hardcore supernatural ghost conspiracy theorist to a degree. He's somebody who tries to hunt down ghosts. He has a YouTube channel called The Truth Seekers. And his goal is to go to these places that he's done research on, and he tries to do those like film it yourself type kind of haunting type shows. And the whole concept from the telephone network is that they're trying to get 100% coverage in their area of Great Britain. And Gus is Dave's best employee, and he gives him a partner. Gus doesn't like to work with anybody, but he gives him this guy, Elton John, who's played by Samson Kayo. And as they start working together, they start noticing supernatural occurrences, and they start creating more content for the channel while also uncovering a mystery that's going on in the show. And it ties into Gus's life directly, ties into the phone company, kind of ties everything all together. And like I said, you get a really good piece of supernatural ghost genre material here. I love Gus. Nick Frost crushes it. I just love his natural approach. Just Nick Frost being himself on screen certainly works for Gus quite well. And I love the way Gus talks about ghosts and how invested he is in it, even if his YouTube content isn't that good. It's like real knockoff, like some of these other type supernatural, paranormal activity type shows. And while he captures the essence of those, he's not super good at it. And when he finds himself in the middle of an actual supernatural phenomenon, watching him try to figure it all out is a lot of fun. And he's able to bring a lot of his own natural humor into the delivery. And Gus is a character you really enjoy riding along with all the time. And I like how he warms up eventually to Elton John. I like how he warms up to a girl who kind of is on the run from a supernatural event of her own, and kind of stumbles into the two of them, realizes that Gus kind of looks into these types of things and thinks they can help, and they inadvertently gain a third member of the Truth Seekers. And I love the way he interacts with Astrid and accepts her in, and eventually is okay with her being around, and how they kind of create a team that's a lot of fun to watch on screen, as well as two side characters. Helen, played by Susan Wokoma, who is Elton John's sister. She's got a bit of an agoraphobic thing where she can't really go outside or interact with other people. It freaks her out a lot, so getting to watch her get comfortable with Gus and Astrid and Gus's father, Richard, played by Malcolm McDowell, you end up with this group of 5 that's a lot of fun on screen, and they give everybody, besides Nick Frost, fun things to do. Everybody gets a really good episode. There's a really good episode for Samson Kayo. His Elton John has a lot of mystery to his character, as you could imagine. Someone named Elton John. There's only one Elton John in the world, so you have another Elton John. There's something mysterious going on with that character, and how that storyline plays into Gus's story, and how Kayo handles Elton John is really fun. Like when he is scared, you literally watch this huge kind of imposing dude turn inside himself and become this scared little child. And watching Kayo do that on screen is really, really quite nice. And then, as I said, we have Astrid, played by Emma Darcy. Her character also quite a bit of mystery around her, and one of those kind of mysteries that we have to solve as we go through the story. And her too, kind of skittish at the beginning. She's kind of being chased to a degree by some kind of an entity, and the entities and things that pop up in the show are really scary from a visual perspective to how they work. There's like a almost television aspect to them. Like if you had a old tube television and you were losing the signal, it was kind of cutting in and out. You get that with the ghosts in here. It's a really interesting take to how you present ghosts, and I like how it plays, and it's creepy. Every time it happens, you're just like, oh, I don't know about that, man. Like that, because it's something you don't typically see around those types of characters. And how that plays into Astrid's character, I think really allows Emma Darcy to do some wonderful things too, with being scared and then overcoming that and becoming this really confident character. I like how Astrid kind of plays into things here. And then, as I said, Dave is Gus's boss, played by Simon Pegg. Really, really minimal. Much more minimal than the other main members of the Truth Seekers. But Pegg is great. There is an element to him that, just makes you laugh. There's an element to him that you really love because of how much he loves Gus. And there is an element of mystery to his character as well. And as we kind of uncover all these mysteries throughout the season, that's the thing I love, is we get presented all these mysteries, and we get satisfying conclusions to those mysteries, as well as setting up whatever we're going to do come next season. And then lastly, you have Susan Wokoma and Malcolm McDowell, Gus's father, and Elton John's sister. And they're kind of on the periphery, where, Malcolm McDowell's character is around because he lives with Gus, and how he plays in what his connection and story is. Him and Gus have a story that's tied together. So as you uncover that and realize everything that's going on with that character, you're like, oh, well, that's really an interesting take. And McDowell really delivers good stuff of being kind of one of these dads who doesn't understand technology, doesn't completely understand what the son is doing, and is critical of him a lot, but also has this unbelievable soft spot for Helen, because Helen is also kind of a loner, who's being taken care of by another family member and doesn't really have any friends outside of that family member. And the way they write kind of Helen and Richard's characters together, it's this cool little duo. Like anytime the other three are out doing something, Helen and Richard get together, and you really like watching them interact because they do have a lot of similarities, even though they're drastically different in age and there's no romantic relationship between them. They have a legitimate friendship, and watching how that allows Helen to come out of her shell and be willing to interact with people and maybe go outside a little bit. She's not like a full-blown, I can't leave the house. She takes kind of baby steps, and meeting Richard is one of those things that really helps her. And Susan Wokoma really plays the role excellently. I really enjoy Helen. She gets an episode where something cool happens for her, and you're like, oh, that's neat. And then same thing, when that kind of all plays itself out, you're like, oh, well, still super cool for that character and how she fits into the Truth Seekers. She's a YouTuber herself. She does makeup tutorials. So she decides to help Gus with his YouTube page, and the way she kind of helps set up things and gets things going. And also the way Richard helps Gus get more followers. I was like, damn, man, maybe I need to do something like that to get more people to click over the old cinema Sitdown. But I just like this cast of characters and how they play together and how they work inside of this world. And then, like I said, I love that they dive full into the genre. There is legitimate scary stuff in this show. I mean, like I said, there's stuff that goes on with Elton John where you watch Kayo turn into a child, and the things that are happening are scary imagery-wise. Same with Astrid. And Nick Frost gets the scariest moment of the whole show. I won't spoil it, but it involves a stuffed knitted doll to a degree, and it is terrifying, man. Like, absolutely horrifying stuff, and like, I give you nightmares type doll. And how the supernatural elements play into the story, why they're happening, the reasoning behind some of the things, kind of pull into one other character, played by Julian Barratt, Dr. Peter Toynbee. He's a guy who's had a lot of books and talks about the supernatural and the paranormal. And is someone Gus is very, very much a follower of in the show, and is a fan to a degree. And how Toynbee plays into what's actually going on in the story and why these supernatural occurrences are happening, and the visuals to the supernatural occurrences. That there's the ghosts in this show have an element to them that visually happens besides just that kind of like old tube TV losing its connection. That's really interesting, and how that plays into what Toynbee's story is and what's actually going on in the show. When put all together, it creates something that I think is an absolute blast. Like I said, you don't quite laugh out loud as much as the movies, but plenty of light-hearted moments, plenty of humor-filled moments, plenty of stuff that you will laugh out loud at. But this show, I think, is way more committed to the genre and delivering a legitimate paranormal, supernatural ghost story. That it just pops in a way where I was like, damn it, man, like that 5 hours went so quick. I want more of it because I just love Frost and Pegg and the type of material that they create. And this, Truth Seekers, I think, stands up with any of the movies that they've done. And if this is what they can do with television, and we eventually get to the end of Truth Seekers, I'd certainly be on board for another TV show starring these two guys. And I hopefully look forward to more Simon Pegg next year. Like I said, his character, more minimal here, certainly could have a bigger role or more screen time in season 2. But let's face facts. We've seen Simon Pegg and Nick Frost both go off separately, both dominate what they've done separately. And, it's not like they need each other to thrive. But it sure is nice to see them together. And Nick Frost is the perfect lead here. Like I said, Gus is exactly what you need to lead this show. Frost's delivery is exactly what you need in Gus. And I like how Pegg's Dave plays into it and could get more screen time next year. And then just the cast in general is wonderful. And from the production to the directing and the way the show looks, I like the way they play with cameras. And when you're seeing like camera footage versus like the TV show itself, all that stuff works. It looks like it should be for a ghost hunting type show, and it falls perfectly into that genre where, yes, me, I'm gonna recommend the hell out of Truth Seekers, man. If you are a fan of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, Truth Seekers is so worth the watch. So there you go, man. Wrapping up our little television day with our last TV review, and then we got some movies I watched over this break too that we got to talk about. But Truth Seekers, really, really enjoyed it. No surprise at all when you're talking about Simon Pegg and Nick Frost and them teaming up together. It's always gonna be a good time. So those are all of my thoughts. Now I want to know what you're thinking, man. Have you checked out Amazon Prime's Truth Seekers? If you did, what'd you think of it? Did you want more laughs? Did you love that it committed to the genre the way that we know these two can commit their form of comedy to the genre? But did you think it was too much? You wanted more humor? Or did the show just work completely for you? Much like myself, did you just find yourself wanting to hit play after every episode and just keep going and just enjoy watching this ensemble cast that ended up being really, really good together, even though I didn't know all of them? Love them all now. And if you haven't seen Truth Seekers, have we enticed you to want to check it out? Like I said, if you were a fan of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, this is definitely the next thing to go check out because it certainly stands right up there, I think, with the movies. So if you've seen it, good, bad, indifferent. If you haven't, you're intrigued, you want to check it out, anything you're thinking about Truth Seekers, down below in the comments section. Look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the old Seaman anytime we're talking TV, movies, trailer reactions. You want to be here for everything that we got coming up, all the stuff I've watched. We got a bunch of movies to talk about too. You want to be here for that stuff tomorrow? You haven't yet? You want to show a little love to the old Seaman, a little support? Join C-Maniac Nation by jumping over there, hitting that subscribe button, hitting that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, for the C-Man's Cinema Sit Down, I've been the C-Man, and I am signing off. Peace. Bow.
Well, that's all live and breathe. You still here? Check out a video like this one or this one and hit the subscribe button so you can get alerts and check out everything the Seaman's got at the Cinema Sit Down.